So this is Baruch here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and I was getting the book ready. I actually said this year earlier this morning, but I forgot to record it. So I'm doing it again. It's not that it's not worthwhile seeing. What's actually happening over here, and it is really, I believe, looking at the basic mechanisms. This is Rebbe Shimon is dropping us hints by these different words that he uses that are very elusive. Different productions is how we come from the very beginning of the tikkun to develop into olamos abia, which is Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. How did Asiya come out? How did this whole process take place? And so the words that are being used here are very, very well, they're kind of very hidden words. So we've been working on this idea of part of what Rebbe Shimon had said. He says this is a concept of what we call sanpir ba'advoy. Now, sanpir is a word for fin. It's some concept that has to do with fish. And advoy really means a goral or a lot or a portion. So different Pirushim have been going over this, going into it in different angles, and you see that their angles are altogether different. But let's hear over here one of my favorite up until this point, is a Talmud of the Riyah Kodesh who learned with the Uri for the 6 months that approximately before he started really dictating and learning with Rabbi Chaim Vital. So the Ri Saruk is a person named, I think his name is Rabbi Yisrael Saruk. So Bir Nosef Mitzina the feast Sefer Kabbalah's Marie Saruk. So there's a word Sefer by that name. And he says this book is amul with another book, which is called Talmud's Chachma, Be'emek HaMelech, of Yaakov Moshe. All of these different books bring these different ideas. So let's see what's going to happen here. He says the Ire Khan Bedinim Akashim, that what you're talking about with this phrase Sampiro Ba'adboy, whatever that means. He says it has to do with a bundle, Bedinim Akashim, the most difficult dinim, the Bishviris Akalim, of Vitala Malchus, Besod Kultur Bekutra. So it has to do with the concept of the Shviris of the Kalim that Hashem had originally formed in the Olam Anikudim and how they broke. And this produces a tremendous amount of dinim. Shuhu dinim megubatzim bekesher echad. These are dinim that are all bundled together into one knot. So now, want to begin to try to understand what the concept is of sweetening these dinim besod maimer chazal. Shasires hazachav v'harag on the cave. Now this is apparently Gemara and Baba Basra. So it says that how do we handle the difficulties surrounded by this tremendous amount of din? He says that we castrate. I don't know another word for this right now. Zachav v'harag on the cave and kill the female. Now let's drop down to number Tes Vav. Let me see what I have to do. Make a little arrangements. My desk very cramped, as you might imagine. And we're going to get down a little bit lower so we can see it. And this is number Tes Vav. It says Rei B'Gemara Sham. So this is the Gemara that we're talking about. So he says Leviathan, that is the great fish, is divided into two parts. One part is a nachash bariach, which is a snake, which is spanning a distance. The leviathan nachash akalosan, and then there's apparently some kind of a diagonal or a binding together kind of snake. So one is zachar, one of them is zachar, one of them is the cave. And now we've been working over this concept of the snake. The snake obviously has a flow either of light, it refers to the flow of light down from the Ein Sof as it becomes more and more minimized, or it refers to the opposite of it, that is the reflection of the light, which is a klipa, which is false light. So he's ilmalin is talking zebazeh, machrivim kala olam kula. So if it wasn't for the fact that you actually are putting it that you actually separated them from each other, the whole world could be destroyed. Ma'asa Kodesh Baruch Hu. So what does the Kodesh Baruch Hu do? So I said that Ilmala Niskakim. So he said Niskakim really means that they're bound together in a certain way. If it wasn't for that fact, what would we do? The world wouldn't be able to last. Ma'asa Kodesh Baruch Hu. So what a Kodesh Baruch Hu done? This is the Gemara. Sirius as a zakar, he castrates the male, v'harag and the keva, or malchul the tzaddikim the asadabo, and he takes their bodies and salts them away for tzaddikim for the next world. Now this whole phrase here obviously needs a lot of explanation because as it is by itself, it's just full of questions. Let's go up to number Tesvav where we stopped. And it's a key Inyan Sampira Ba'adboy. What is this about? Usod Siras Azacha Gamoshi is Bar Lefanado, as we are going to explain as we go on. It's a concept of the castration of the male. Be'inyan Isbar Reshe, and then there's another one which is coming out, the break the head, the Holon Husod Harigas in the Keva, that refers to the Rigas in the Keva. So he says that Sanpir Ba'adboy refers to the, what's the right word? I've got another word for castration. He said the Harigas and the Keva. By Indian, who the Indian is like this, Sanpir Mora Alham Tapas Adin, and the concept of Sanpir is what? It's the concept of sweetening the dinim akashim shalazachar, of sweetening those dinim. That if those two dinim were to, that is the dinim of the female, and that even the male the world couldn't stand. So here we have to sweeten the male. By Yedei Hod the Eriganpen. How does it get sweetened? Get sweetened by the Hod of Eriganpen. Once again, we need a lot of explanation here to see how it is that this Malchus, which may be in this, or maybe we'll see it in a minute. I'm not sure. That this Malchus, which is still intact to a certain event, but non-functional, can be resurrected and purified and protected by the Hod of Eriganpin. Now, how is that possible? Behind it, Shatzur HaKosher, so that this bundle, this knot, this difficult knot, shall dinim akoshin. Na'asa rock, it becomes soft. Like just like similar to what we say about the fin of a fish, the rock, which extends out and it's not solid. So he said, look up at the Melech, Psalm. We're going to read a little bit here, and then we'll come back. And this is what he says as he skips around. Sanpira Ratzaloma. So what's this word Sanpira mean? So as it spreads out a little bit from this bundle, this knot, which is so full of kasha dikadinim, hanikra kultra bekutroi, which is a concept of kultra, either of a bekutra is a concept of the knot of all the dinim being bundled together. He says, Nishava basod sampir, it becomes like the secret of the sampir, shuhu mispashid ve'ena kasha kokal, which is an extension of the fish, and it's something which is kosher, that which we said before, but I'm not sure he's going that direction. But it's softer than the fish himself, in the body of the fish. Now let's look over here in number Tes Zion. So I got to get us real far. And number Tes Zion says like this. He says, B'Sefer Kabbalah's Marie Saruk. So there's a book by that name. Hanidfas B'Ta'alumas Chachma. So you see this in that other volume, and all of these are volumes that I'm only becoming familiar with now. Muvoyim B'Chadabarim Piski. So he goes into detail and goes by each one of these ideas and explains them. The Chidduch of the Atik Memari Saruk. So first the thing is like this. It just most of this is names to know who's who. So he says, and that they began to copy the words of the Risarov of the Chemshech, and then as it went along, Hevi Agos Akosid V'od Hosofa, so we saw more written, and then there was an addition that was put onto it, and then he writes in parenthesis, and this is another name that we need to know. He says, Kanira, Shehe Mahayasher Mekandia. Now, the Yashin Mekandia, I have it written here. His name is Yosef Shlomo Rofe. This is the Rabbi Shlomo Yosef Shlomo Rofe Mekandia. So apparently he's related to the yeshiva or the teaching of Risrok. Bal Talumas Chochma, he wrote that book Talumas Chochma. Bamba Be'eba Kamelach, another sefer, Hebir Bekol Bechadamach, that puts everything together in one place. And he gets it really nicely organized. However, we're still over here learning about this. We didn't get there yet. So therefore, we brought the language of the Emek HaMelech that he says is what's going on here. Now let's go back up to the top and see where we're at. He says, Rotzalomer wants to say like this. That the dinim were surrounding him. That is, I think he means Malchus, saw Malchus. They surrounded Malchus. Malchus velo yochol. He says this is the point that he made earlier. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. Velo yochol liga ba mifnei shelo nishbur. But the klipos that were as a result of the destruction of the Nakudas of Chesed Gevurah, Teves, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, and actually Das, and also Das, that those seven spheros, so to speak, they broke, but Malchus did not. B'shviras hakelim rak is batlush, so she didn't break during that time, so she was still intact. But Malchus is the ultimate pool, and so therefore, if everything that is flowing into Malchus is dead, dying, so therefore she has nothing. So he calls it is batelis. Ela makifim but they're still surrounding Malchus. Now, for those of you, this is a deep Kabbalah, so you have to know a little bit about the Otzos Chaim. V'achar shenispashet Erik Anpin, me'rosho ad shar evari parts of ad Raglov. So the tikkun begins with Atik. So there you have the racial little isyada, very difficult to understand the gar of Atik. We have some understanding, which we've seen before in the Zat, that is the seven lower spheres of Atik, which enter into Erik Anpin. When Erik Anpin is Musukin, then he said what happens to it, it says, V'achar shenispashek Erik Anpin, it spreads, Me'rosho ad shar evari partsuf ad raglov. So then the light of Erik Anpin then goes all the way, it forms into the pattern. This is a template, not physical, but a flow pattern that is coming, that goes all the way from its head down to its feet. And all of reality surrounds Erik Anpin. So his feet went all the way down to the place where the kalim were broken. So this cover yochel, as it would possible to say. At this point, the Ein Sof says to Erik Anpin, she is kafel commotion isha avar bebakomo, so that she should fold up his legs, as explained in its place. Now, once again, we'll go to number Yud Zion, which is at the bottom. Here it is over here. Inyan tikkun shviras hakelim. So now the word is tikkun, rebuilding the shviras hakelim. In Kabbalah, we understand that the reason why the kalim broke is because of riboy or. So the tikkun has to do with the pattern of hismat or of limiting down the light, so that it's possible for the kalim to be able to receive them. Ayidei kifo ragle Erik Anpin, and how does this happen? That Erik Anpin, who is from the Rosh, the very beginning of Atzilus, of Olam Atzilus, which is as close to the Ein Sof as can be, down to the very bottom of Atzilus, that is Erik Anpin. Erik Anpin is Atzilus, and all other realities wrap themselves around Erik Anpin. So Ayidei Kipo Raglov of Erik Anpin. So Erik Anpin then lifts up or folds up at the knees and the hips, and folds himself into a more of a ball shape. Who al pi a Kabbalah's Marie Sarok. So this idea that we're talking about now is that through the movement of the tikkun of Eric Anpin, which has to do with this kippel, this doubling over, Rei Mashahuba Be'inyan Zechel the El, he said B'Shem Pirush Talmud of Aras Sham B'Shem Me'en Chochma. So what we got out of that is a concept that the fixing begins with the Malchus is in a position where it's surrounded by klipos, dinim, very hard. How do we get Malchus into a position where she could be Masukah? So this happens as a result of this tikkun. He said what happened was, on his words, and I'm taking his words. He says what happened is that Malchus attached itself to Hod. Now let me see where we were. That was number Yud Zion. So let's go over here to Yud Zion. So he says Oz Malchus nidbaka or nidbaka Behod shall Eric Anpin. So there Malchus now, as Eric Anpin folds his legs up, there is a relationship established between Malchus and the Hod of Eric Anpin, which is his left leg, so to speak. And then what does she want to do? She wants to swallow up these bitter waters, these salty waters. Shaladinim Hakashim. So now that she's attached to Eric Anpin, that Malchus, that is the Hod of Eric Anpin, she wants to do something about all these dinim and swallow them up. Kedei Lamatkan. And why does she want to do that? Not that the world could live without the dinim, because the world is made out of dinim, but that you could sweeten the dinim so that they're not so punishing. The lowest milsa, but it doesn't work out. She's not able to swallow up all of that salty water. But even so, by that attachment, her attachment to the Hod of Eric Anpin, she's able to break their strength to a certain extent. Shesod Hanakeva. So let's try to piece this together. Shesod Hanakeva, Matka also Mikol B'Kol. So he said that I'm not sure what that means. He said the translators is the secret of the female aspect, which is Malchus. Matka sweetens her Mikol B'Kol from everything. Now something is missing. So there, in other words, what to say, whatever you want to say about that, you're not able to swallow up all of the poison that's around her, but she is able to sweeten it to a certain extent. Then he says, but the Zohar is much more difficult. The Asher Lamatko, and it's impossible to sweeten it. And we call Malcolm Nistara. So there, what happens? What's the tikkun for the? This is really talking about the Leviathan or the Leviathan, which is male. That is that bundle of dinim, which are male. And we call Malcolm Nistara. So they has to be circumcised. It has to be castrated. Now, I should, and I would be a good idea for me to see if I could find a little better, softer word for that. But that's what it is. So, but now we need an explanation, of course. So that the fish carry in seed and eggs. So then when the seed that we're talking about comes out of the fish, it creates many thousands of dogim. Now, understand that the metaphor, I'm trying to understand, the metaphor is about the word sanpir, which means a fin. So we're back to fish again. So this fish, so therefore, this process of producing such a tremendous amount of dinim, which is these eggs he's talking about metaphorically, so therefore he stops it through castration. So that the eggs of poison should not come out into the world. Now we're going about little by little and reading these. I think number Yud Ches was nothing special, but let's see if I can get it. I'll read it anyway. He says number Yud Ches down here. He says Begillion Sefer Talumas Chochma. Now we've seen this Sefer a couple of times already. Yesh Kam Hagor. There's a gloss over there. Mechatalmid Rebbe Shmuel. So he said Bezel Shono Hagor quote. Nirali trin bayim shebazachor. So it seems to me that the male has two gonads. He's a v'na'aser shava b'sod sampir, and they become like, I guess, into oneness in the secret of this sampir, which is this fin. V'lech of the trin bayim, but not, and it's no longer two different ones. Alazonav shall sampir, but actually it becomes the tail of the fin. She'ain lo bayim, that has no, it's like a tail. So I'm not sure what he's telling me here, but I'm reading along because I want to know. I want to know the words. There's two of them. There's a nachash b'riach sheyesh b'sochel sares mimenu. So he said again, the fish has within itself some power of srisos, which is castration. Bahave, not kan b'tzark beer. Now that's for sure that it's sark beer. There's a lot missing over there. Let's come over here to number Yud Ches. I'm going to bring it down where we can see it, and we'll try to finish up now. So number Yud Ches V'Teda. Know this. Bisman Shezeh Hazachon Nistaris. At the time that the castration of the male aspect, in other words, it can no longer reproduce, Nimtekuk Tzaz Kusha Dinim Shabal. That's stopping up of his ability to be able to keep pushing out the dinim. It sweetens the dinim a little bit. Then the asa besod sanpir, and it makes the dinim into the secret of the sanpir. Behind it, the Amach Rashbi al Shalom Samid Ba'advoy. Now, Shamir, Sanpira rather, the Advoy. The Teves Sanpir Olatov. Now, all of these different ideas need a lot of explanation as far as my understanding, but I'm just trying to uncover the words so that we can go forward and find out a little bit later, because this is a constant case of name dropping. Here's the next set of names. Teves Sanpir Olatov. So Sanpir is a gematria 400. So from this Sanpir, which is the softened dinim, from those softened dinim is what the 400 worlds of desire, what is desire for Tevekus, are located. Negnam Tov Meyo Shekel Kesef to Avraham. And then the same idea is this idea of 400 has something to do with the concept of sweetening the dinims, which are wind dinim, which are stretching out from this bundle of nastiness that he says is the kernel of our idea. So the idea was to sweet this shampil shal zachar on nisker, that is the male's fin, that is the extension, so that the part of the bundle of nastiness of dinim that are associated with the male, this is actually the male leviathan, so that the actual extension out of that becomes softened, and that's all you can do. Shenimtak akol b'liyaso im malchus, that was sweetened as he went up with malchus b'so chod shel ariach. So he says that let's understand what's happening is that since malchus is at the bottom, and the bottom of ariach extends all the way down to that level, and that therefore when as he said, the Ein Sof Baruch Hu said to Eric Anpin Kaviyachol, fold your legs up. This brought Malchus out of the klippa, and brought Malchus also into a position where she was attached to the hod of Eric Anpin. Adkan needs more explanation behind Sham Od, and I think as we go along, we're going to pick up more and more of this. Bregam b'talumas chachma. So this praise this sefer talumas chachma. This sefer laholon. There's going to be more on this. This is Baruch Fleischman, and this is the Sifra Tzniuta. Today is the 16th day of Teves.